We've reached the bye week. The Eagles, like we all expected, are 6-0, best team in football.
Yeah, I picked them 12-5. Now I'm thinking I undersold them.
Yeah.
They go 7-5 the rest of the way. That's disappointing. So, I probably should have gone a little high. What did you win 11-6?
No, I picked 12.
You did pick 12.
Yeah.
Okay. We're on the right track. Maybe a little.
Yeah, we're higher than most and not high enough, apparently.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
It's crazy. There's still 11 games left. A lot of football to be played. There's going to be a lot of ebbs and flows. They're not going to go undefeated. They're going to lose a game they're not supposed to lose.
You sure?
No, really not. But it's been a fun month and a half. And I think we all need the bye week. They need the bye week. Lane certainly needs the bye week, Dickerson. But they're in a great place.
They are. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast, by the way. It's presented by Nissan. He's Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. We've reached the bye week. It's a good chance for us to kind of take a step back, look at this team, the type of success they've had, break down their biggest individual star, who's been Jalen Hurts, and then really take a look at the schedule and the state of things in the NFC, because it makes you think that, this is right there for them. Then we will also talk about some of the things they need to improve, because it has not been perfect. The record's perfect. They have not been perfect. But Jalen Hurts, Rube, it's funny. He comes off statistically. I mean, he threw for 155 yards in week 6 against the Cowboys. Thought he still played well, and overall, he's having a really good year.
Yeah, and I feel like he does whatever he needs to do to win. He's not forcing
and he'll tell you
anything. That. But I think in this game against that defense, he didn't need to throw for 300 yards. And with that pass rush, you're putting yourself at risk every time, especially with Lane out, every time you drop back. And I thought they were a little slow to go back to the run, which I think we've said a few times. But even on those drives where they weren't moving the ball, they were trying to run. But the thing about Jalen that's just amazing to me is his calmness, his demeanor, and just how it permeates the rest of the roster. Not even just the offense, but the whole team, and
the coaching staff too, in a way.
It's true, because Nick is such a hothead, and Jalen's like the opposite. I think Jalen, usually the coach calms the players down, but it's really impressive. And he's so consistent in that. You get the feeling that nothing phases him. You never see him react in frustration. You never see him run back to the sideline after a 3-and-out or a turnover, which there haven't been many, and throw the clipboard he's just so in control on the field and off the field. And I really think that has a tremendous effect on the people around them. And I think it allows them to play their best because they're not overly hyped or overly forcing things or feeling the pressure or the situation. They just go out and play. And it's a reflection of Jalen's personality.
That's a good point. I've never seen him show emotion negatively.
Yeah.
Like, we'll see him show emotion positively.
Not that often, but sometimes.
Yeah, like the big play, sometimes he'll scream. We see him screaming coming off the field.
Yeah.
Like, he'll show emotion positively, never negatively. He takes a cheap shot hit. His teammates are PO'd. He's not. Like, he's just pops back up, doesn't want to show that.
Yeah.
It's very calculated.
And we asked him about that. What was that, the Jets preseason game?
Mm-hmm.
We asked him about that after the game, and he's like, "What's it going to accomplish if I lose my cool?
Yeah,
it's not going to help us win the game." And that's just how he's wired. I don't think it's anything he turns on or off. It's just his personality, and he's got the perfect personality to be a quarterback. And I think Sunday night there was so much. I mean, there was a 20-point lead that turned into a 3-point lead. There was national TV. There was the Cowboys and their defense. There was no Lane. There was just a lot of things happening. And like, he's so good at navigating through chaos and leading to calm. And I don't know if I've ever seen a guy, you see some veterans who have those qualities. He's just turned 24 like about 2 months ago. He started 25 games in the NFL, and to have those qualities at this point in his career, we could talk about his accuracy and his decision-making. Those have all obviously shown tremendous growth, but I think it all starts with his mentality, which doesn't waver. He doesn't believe in highs and lows, and and it's not just lip service. He lives it.
Yeah. All right, let's look at the stats, though.
Yeah.
For Jalen Hurts so far this year. He's 6-0, which is a quarterback stat that I don't like, but you like it, and he's 6-0. It counts. Completion percentage, 66.8%. I mean, last year was 61.3, so we've seen
The year before was 52.
52 even. So we've seen it
keeps going up. He'll be at like 90 in a couple of years.
He's thrown for over 1,500 yards in 6 games, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And then you have to factor in his rushing numbers. Didn't have a big rushing game on Sunday night, but still 77 attempts, 293 yards, 6 touchdowns in 6 games. So he's still a huge threat on the ground, even a bigger threat this year than he was last year with his legs.
Yeah, he's not making the big plays running, but he's making smart plays, and he's moving the sticks when he has to. He's 13 out of 15 on 3rd and 4th and 1, which is nobody else has more than 8.
Yeah.
He's got 13. And just to add to what you were just saying, 6th highest passer rating in the NFL, 9th highest completion percentage, 3rd best interception ratio, 3rd highest yards per attempt. Yesterday was low, but for the season, he's 3rd best. And 4th most total touchdowns with the 6 and 6. So
12 touchdowns in 6 games.
Yeah, so he's on pace for 34 total touchdowns. Math. Yeah, it's his growth has been phenomenal. And you could you knew it was coming. I mean, and we talked so much in the offseason about all the factors that we thought would lead to him being a more efficient, more effective quarterback, but he's really taken it and run with it, and he's got better weapons. He's in his 2nd year in the offense, all that stuff. Having a full off season again, but he's so much fun to watch, and he's just not making mistakes. I think out of all the stats, the thing that's most amazing to me is he's thrown 180 some odd passes. How many passes has he thrown? You have that in front of you? 183, maybe
184.
Damn, I hate being off by 1. He has 2 interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
He has 2 interceptions. He's thrown two picks in his last 8 games.
Yeah,
going back to last year. And that's why I thought Sunday night was so impressive, because, that's a defense that takes the ball away. I mean, they have the number 1 ball hawk in the league, and he just doesn't put the ball in harm's way. And to have that high completion percentage and still not, and that high yards per attempt and still not be turning the ball over, that's rare.
Yeah.
So he's getting the ball down the field, although not Sunday night. But
that's the thing. You hear those low interception numbers and you think, well, it's all playing it safe.
Yeah.
And at times they have, right? At times they weren't chucking it down the field Sunday night. They weren't chucking it down the field the week before.
Why would you? Why would you stand back there and put yourself in harm's way?
Exactly. When they were getting blitzed in Arizona, they weren't doing it. And when they were facing a really good pass rush with the Cowboys, they weren't chucking it down the field. But we have seen moments where they'll unleash it. He'll unleash a deep ball. The intermediate routes are there. He's throwing to all sides of the field. He's hitting tight windows.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're playing this uber conservative game, and that's the reason he doesn't have interceptions. It's because he's hitting his marks.
Yeah. That's absolutely true. And remember his rookie year, those 4 games he started, it's so funny to think about now. He was 22, and people were freaking out about some fumbles, some interceptions, and low accuracy. He's a 22-year-old kid playing in a lost cause team with a benched quarterback who may or may not have been helping him very much. It was a really difficult situation. But once he cleaned up the turnovers, if he can keep that up, it's going to be really tough to stop him because he's just so efficient. And 2 turnovers. I think the only guys ahead of him in turnover ratio this year are Brady. I think Brady's only thrown 1. And is it Josh Allen? I believe it's Josh Allen. I'm going to look it up. And I just went to the wrong place. You talk for a minute. I'm going to look this up because that's really impressive to me. He's also in the top 10 in NFL history in lowest interception ratio now. You think about that.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy who 2 years ago people were like he can't play because he throws too many interceptions. He's top 10 all time. Interception ratio, of course, they don't have it on Jesus. I got to look on StatHead, but I will. But It's amazing. I mean, how many picks did you throw last year?
9.
9.
Yeah.
So yeah, and 3 were in that Giants game.
Mm-hmm.
He was just that was just a bad game. But since then, what are you laughing at?
You told me to talk so you could look
And then I
something
kept
up, and you
talking.
haven't stopped talking since then. You looking that up?
I'm going to look that up.
All right, I'll talk now. It is impressive. And I think the biggest cheat code this offense got him was A.J. Brown. And we saw that on Sunday night. You need, on that last drive, you finally need to hit a pass.
Yeah.
You go to A.J. Brown. And that wasn't a slant, but that A.J. Brown slant is always there.
Yeah.
It's a cheat code. It's like one of those video game cheat codes. If you do this, you push the buttons in this order, it's going to work. That's that A.J. Brown slant. And it's nice for a quarterback who's still figuring things out to have that in his back pocket at all times. You have one of the best receivers in the league.
It's fun to watch people try to tackle A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
You got to be, you need a couple guys to do it. You got to really be ferocious in your tackling. He'll just laugh at you. That one on the first, I think it was his first catch.
They're trying to tackle him like he would try to tackle him.
That's a good point. All right, so Jalen Hurts he's got the third best interception ratio in football. Brady's thrown 1 in 247 attempts. Justin Herbert's thrown 2 in 200 attempps. So he's got the same number of interceptions as Justin Herbert and 12 fewer passes. So he's basically tied for second. And then after that, you have Daniel Jones. He's only thrown 2 in 159 attempts from the not very good, Dave says, Giants. I think they're not bad. They run the ball and they play defense. But Bailey Zapp, 1 interception in 70. He's played really well.
Mm-hmm.
Bailey Zapp. He was 4th-round pick. Crazy. Anyway, Eagles have a quarterback.
It's Zappy, by the way.
Zappy, yeah.
Yeah, he's been
just
fun to
looked that up.
I wanted to make sure.
Where do you go to school? Kentucky? Somewhere down there?
Kentucky, somewhere down there.
Anyway, you probably want me to do a read now because you're not saying anything.
No, we have to get into the schedule.
Okay, I was going to say goosebumps on your goosebumps, but all right, let's talk about schedule.
Yeah, that's why we have the budget. It's funny. I'm looking at this schedule, Rube.
Yeah.
Let's go through it.
Let's do it.
They're 6-0. Come back from the bye week. At home against the Steelers.
And the Steelers, they got your attention yesterday and beat Tampa 20-18, and Trubisky came back in and played well. Relief of Pickett.
Yeah,
not a relief. He got Pickett, I heard.
They're not very good, though.
They're not very good. I wonder who will see a quarterback, though.
Doesn't matter.
It won't be Roethlisberger. But it's funny how, in 2004, the Eagles won their first 7, and that streak ended against Pittsburgh, in Pittsburgh. Got blown out like 26-3. I'll never forget standing at Corey Simon's locker, and he's like, how are we going to win the Super Bowl if we get blown out like this? Didn't win it, but got there. But yeah, Pittsburgh, I'm going to put that down as a W. I'm going to go there and get you 7-0. Then what do you got? You got a short week after that, right?
Short week on the road. You got to fly to Houston, but you're playing the Texans.
Yeah, I'm thinking, and that's, I think that's where the bye really comes in handy because, you're going to have 2 games in 5 days, and that kind of will help you navigate that. I think that's big. Houston's only win was they were on a bye this week. They beat the Jaguars. They tied the Colts in the opener. Yep. They're not really very good at anything.
No, they're not good. Then you have like a mini bye, right? You have that extra few days.
Yeah. You're
home against the Washington Commanders and maybe Carson Wentz, maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll find out tonight at halftime exactly what the injury is and how long he'll be out. That's how these things go. Doesn't really matter. Games here. Is that a Sunday night Or is that a Monday night?
That's a Monday night.
That's a Monday
so
night.
it's a really long time.
Yeah.
Thursday to a Monday night. It's like another bye week.
That really is. And knowing Nick, he'll give them off till Friday. They'll just, this team that doesn't practice. They're 6-0. They never practice. It's amazing. Yeah. I think you have a better chance if you're Washington with, I was going to say with Heineke, but it's probably not true. Probably have a better chance with Guy in Indy. But
I think eventually maybe Sam Howell, like if their season ends up being a bust, maybe.
I haven't really heard much about how he's coming along.
Well, I haven't either. He showed some flashes in training camp, though, from what I hear.
Yeah.
And at that point, you might as well see.
Sure.
And in a way, like they have to, Wentz has to hit 70% for that pick to be higher, like a second or third, right?
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
So at the end of the season, if they stink, why would they give themselves bartending over there?
Just making myself a vodka.
Oh, Tom Collins, please. I don't even know what a Tom Collins has in it, but that sounds funny.
Vodka tonic has vodka and tonic.
Thank you.
And then after that, you get his former team.
Yeah, on the road in Indy. That team stinks.
Yeah. Yeah, so you got the guy in Indy, and then Indy, you got the other guy in Indy.
Yeah. They've won 2 in a row.
Yeah, they're on a roll.
But, they won 12-9, beating the Broncos. They beat the Jags. I guess that's a nice win, 34-27. But they're not good.
They won 3 of their last 4. They'll probably beat the Titans. Probably beat the Commanders.
I don't know if they'll beat the Titans.
I don't know. I guess it's in Tennessee Sunday. I can't wait till Sunday. Just sit and watch football all day. It's going to be amazing.
I think that's probably a win.
Probably a win. That's one of the games that you look at and say maybe you're trying to find a loss on the schedule.
They're going to be favored. They might be favored the rest of the way.
They might be favored. Well, if they keep winning.
Yeah.
If they lose their next 10, they won't be favored against the Giants.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. So, out of those 4, at Houston's tricky because it's a short week on the road, but they're not losing that game. I think Indianapolis might be the biggest threat out of that group of 4. Really? And it's out there. They're kind of, I don't know. I think when their quarterback plays well, they're dangerous. He played really well this weekend.
How about him just throwing the ball all over the yard?
Yeah. So he's and then you have Aaron Rodgers coming to town for a Sunday night game, right?
Yeah,
they're terrible all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's not a good team. That was one of the games early in the year. You say that's probably their toughest game of the season.
Yeah,
that team's not very good. They don't look very good.
Yeah, they won 3 straight. They beat Tampa down there. They beat the Patriots, who I think might be okay, but they just lost to both New York teams back to back.
Yeah,
they got killed by the Jets.
27-10.
Yeah, no, that was up in the Meadowlands, right? That wasn't.
Yeah,
Lambeau. That was at the Meadowlands. They've got Washington.
No, that was in Lambeau.
Oh yeah, you're right. It was in Lambeau. Yeah.
They lost both home games at Lambeau to the Giants and the Jets.
How about that? Yes, they did. Wow. So they got Washington. They got the Bills coming up, who you can make a case that the Bills are the best team in football.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see the Eagles play the Bills, and they might.
Got to wait a little while on that one.
They lost to Miami early. Tua is still healthy and playing well, but they're really on a roll. That defense is, and they're.
Who are you talking about?
Buffalo.
Oh,
yeah, Buffalo.
You're jumping schedules on me.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know they don't play Buffalo. I'm just kind of looking ahead at the Super Bowl.
So that my point, getting back to the Packers, the team they do play, is that game looked like it was going to be really tough at the beginning of the year. It doesn't look that tough right now.
Yeah, no, it really doesn't. And
then you're home against the Titans, who are okay. They're tough. They're physical, and they have Rabel out there. Like, they're going to be coached well. They're going to play tough. But they're not very good.
No.
Then week 14 at the Giants, that might be their biggest game of the year.
Yeah, and you said the Giants stink.
I'm coming around that they might not stink, but I still don't think they're good.
Derrick Henry's only averaging 3.9 yards a carry. I'm still on Tennessee here. The Giants are weird because
look, they're coached really well.
So much better.
They're playing well above their means, though.
I think they're legit good on defense, and they're opportunistic.
Well, they have a very good coordinator. Rink Martindale's legit.
Yeah.
And they've really changed a lot of what they've done up there. And on offense, Kafka's working his magic too. Like they've got something cooking. I just don't think talent-wise they're in the same stratosphere as the Eagles.
I agree. And Kafka's going to be the next Andy Reid, like, coaching tree head coach.
Yeah.
Maybe, if this keeps going on. I mean, they don't have a great offense, but it's really just Barkley running and Saquon run and Daniel Jones running.
Yeah.
I mean, they throw the ball like 9 times a game. I don't know if you can win that way, but they're doing it. And they fall behind every week and come back late. So they're
gritty.
They got something going on there. And I think their defense is legitimately decent. They got some playmakers out there. And the thing is, I mean, they just will hit you with big plays from Barkley. And late in games, that's a tough matchup against a tired defense. So I think that's the game. And they play here the last day of the season. Look on the NFL Jesus. They list that Giants game on January 8th as 4 a.m.
I hope not.
What time will we do the podcast in that case? Like probably 9 a.m. or something. Yeah. But yeah, I would say right now, looking at the schedule, that's the game they're most likely to lose. Because let's go after that. I mean,
Bears stink. You're in Chicago, but
they're going to win that game.
At Dallas, Christmas Eve, Dak will be back. I mean, that'll be a good game. At that point, though, who knows what we're counting win. They might have 12 wins by then.
They might have clinched number 1 seed by then. It could be that if they win that game, they clinch number 1 seed.
Possible. Yeah, I mean, that'll be a fun one on Christmas Eve. And then at home to finish the season against the Saints and Giants. Saints game, in a way, you'd like them to have something to play for because if they beat the Saints, it'll only help their draft pick from them.
That's true. Which right now, I believe Saints are 2-4. Is it?
Yeah.
Like top 5 pick?
I'll look it up.
It's amazing when you look at the NFC. There's only 3 winning teams.
Yeah.
4 winning teams. I'm sorry, 3 other than the Eagles. 3 in the
6
division.
6 pick overall will be right now.
6 pick overall. Eagles are 6-0, Giants 5-1, Cowboys 4-2, and those 3 teams are 13-1 against teams other than themselves, other than those 3. The only loss is Dallas has lost to Tampa out of that. That's the only loss by those 3 teams outside those 3 teams. And then the only winning record outside the division is the Vikings 5-1, and the Eagles beat them convincingly. So there's 3 other teams with a winning record, and the Eagles have beaten 2 of them.
Which is huge for
tiebreakers.
Yeah.
So when you start thinking about, like, if you start thinking about number 1 seed, which is huge now that there's only 1 team that gets a bye, if they can beat the Giants and stay ahead of the Giants, they're in great shape as far as getting that top seed. And, I mean, realistically, to get to 13-4, they got to go 7-4. And I think that's might be a worst case scenario.
It's really easy to find 7 wins. It's hard to find 4 losses.
Yeah.
And that's not like saying, the odds tell you at some point they're going to have a letdown game in a game they should win, right? It's just the odds tell you that.
Could be the Colts.
It could be any of those teams.
Yeah, it could be Houston on a short week.
The idea is that, like, you can't start stacking those.
Yeah.
But try to find 4 losses there. It's not easy.
Yeah. So,
you can see the Giants in week 18. You got Gardner out there for a half. We get to see a lot of Ian Book in that game.
Ian Book will be running around. 30 carries. If you could redo your prediction, 12-5, if you had to pick right now, what would you pick?
Oof. Man.
11 games left.
The problem is I'm thinking at the end of the game, like,
if they all matter, let's say they all matter.
If they all matter, I think it's a 14-win team. I don't know if they're all matter. That's why I'm thinking maybe 13.
Yeah, but I mean, just for argument's sake, if they all matter,
Yeah.
so that gets them 8-3, the last 11. I think I have to agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Incredible. Talking about 14 wins.
And look, the schedule's the schedule. That's why you really have to look at the state of the NFC. And are they as good as the AFC teams? I don't know, but it doesn't really matter until you get to the
right.
Super Bowl. I mean, you watch whether it's the Bills or the Chiefs. I mean, are they as good as those teams?
Probably they only have to be for one.
Yeah, maybe not. But also, it doesn't matter because look at the NFC right now.
And you only have to beat one of them. You don't have to beat the Bills and the Chiefs.
They'll be beating up on each other.
And I mean, who's the third best team in the AFC? It might be the Jets.
Jets are 4-2.
Nobody else has 4 wins, right? Yeah. Other than the Chiefs and Bills. There's a lot of three teams.
Baltimore and Cincinnati are both 3-3. The winner of that division will be a tough team.
There's 13 teams with 3 wins. That's amazing. Yeah.
And then you have the juggernaut NFC East.
Unbelievable. I mean, even including Washington, the division is 17-7 and 13-3 outside the division.
Yeah.
Crazy. Who would have thought? Who could see this coming? You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, we've got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself. Shop your local Nissan store at nissanusa.com today.
All right, Rube. This is a very good football team. They are 6-0. They're finding ways to win, which I think is the most encouraging thing. That they're not winning in just one way. They're doing it in different ways. But it's also like the perfect storm for Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts and this growth mindset because there are still so many things that they can get better at. What's on the top of your list?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things they can get better at. I would say run defense. I'd put that at the top of the list just because it's been surprising they've been so leaky. Really, in 5 of their 6 games, they've allowed 4.5 yards per carry or more. And they've gotten away with it in a couple games just by building bigger leads. Detroit and Dallas both kept running the ball, even when they got behind, just because they figure we have a better chance of moving the sticks running it against this defense than throwing it. And I think a lot of it is Gannon philosophically. He's like, you can have your 4 or 5 yards here. We're not going to give up the big play. We're not going to give up the big passing play. And that works against a lot of teams, but they're giving up 5 yards a pop.
Yeah.
And they made Ezekiel Elliott look like, the Zeke of old, or the Zeke of young, I suppose you could say. That was kind of ugly. You take those Pro Football Focus rankings for what they're worth. They had them going into week 6 as the 30th best tackling team in the league, and they were first last year. So that's got to get better. And I think that's one of those things that they have the personnel to. It's just tackling. I think for the most part, they've been leaky in a lot of games, and that's got to get better.
Yeah, I think they really need to kind of marry their scheme a little better. Jordan. I want to see Jordan Davis in 4-man fronts. It's not like that's the cure-all, but it's such a tell. He's only in the 5-man front over center. And I get that that's where he's best suited, but to me, it's like pretty clear. It's like they can stop the run when they're in that. Then they go to their 4-man front and they can't stop the run.
Yeah. And I also think, I think Gannon loves dropping as many people as possible into coverage. And I think that's kind of this team's calling card is, knocking balls down, getting interceptions. But Jordan Davis, his snaps were down again. I think he was at 33% last night.
Yeah. And it felt like he was getting a lot of run early.
Yeah. I think that number's got to come up. Yeah. And I know they like the rotation, and I like the rotation, but you can still rotate and get that. I think that number needs to be in the low 40s. I think he can handle that. and I think they need him out there more.
Yeah, we mentioned it on the post-game pod, but I was happy to see them start to change up the rotation a little bit. Like, it wasn't like, here's a second line, because that second line leaves a lot to be desired. But I would like to see, like, I asked Jonathan Gannon this after week 1. Can Jordan Davis play in your 4-man front? He said, yeah, of course he can. Well, we're 6 weeks in now, and he really hasn't.
Yeah.
So they clearly think he's best suited to just play that one spot, and that's great. But I think that evolution has to take place at some point.
Yeah. I just think he's going to be a hell of a player.
He already is.
He already is.
Yeah.
He already is.
He's very good.
I mean, he's so big.
He's big, and he gets off blocks, and he makes tackles too. It's not like he's just eating space. Like, there was one play against the Cowboys where, like, he's eating space, he gets off a block, makes the play. Like, he clogged it up.
Yeah.
Someone came in, missed a tackle, and he cleaned it up himself.
Yeah, over to his right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that play. Yeah, he's so strong. I mean, he's not just big. I mean, and I think he's in pretty good shape compared to last year. So, I thought the snaps were kind of gradually going up. They had the last few weeks, but they went down. I didn't really get a huge look at what the D tackle snaps were like. Did you do your snap counts yet?
No, I haven't had time.
Slacker.
Yeah.
D tackles. Fletch played 50 out of 67 snaps, 75%. Hargrave 48 snaps. Jordan played 22. Milton played 18, and Tui Pelodu played 18. That might be a little too much, Fletch and Hargrave. It's kind of a real disparity between those two and everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
That could account for some leakiness in the third quarter. Because I think that's a lot for Fletch. In the last couple of weeks, he's been high.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I think that might be too much for him. Because when he was really playing well early in the season, he's not playing bad, but when he was really playing well, his snaps were in the 40 to 50% range. I wonder if he's playing too many snaps.
Want to move on? Something else I need to get better at?
Yeah, what do you got?
Special teams.
You think?
It's troubling because you have this feeling that, like, eventually it's going to lose them a game.
Yeah.
You know, they've kind of really handled most of the teams they've played this year. You get in a tight game, you give up a 63-yard kick return, it might not end so well.
Yeah, and I thought the Eagles had so much momentum. That really, and that momentum they got, and they only got a field goal, but that really kind of carried over into the second half. Mm-hmm. Scored 17 straight points. And yeah, and he's a good returner, but like every week,
there's something.
There's
a fake punt that they're converting on. There's a blocked field goal. There's a big return. There's a muff punt. And it's tough because there's like all these different elements of special teams, and it's like, well, how do you fix it all? It has to be better. It just has to be better.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're doing some things well. Jake Elliott's great.
They cover punts really well.
They cover punts well. They have good gunners.
Yeah.
But man, the whole unit it's the weak spot of this team.
Yeah. I think Sean Bradley, who I don't think he's shown up as much on special teams as last year.
That's fair. I mean, last year he was like a Pro Bowl candidate as a special teamer.
Yeah.
And I think they have the players to be able to be good on special teams.
Yeah, I mean, the core guys, I mean, N'Kobe, Zach McPherson, Patrick Johnson, Kayvon. Yeah, I'm not a big Kayvon fan.
He's fine on special teams.
He's okay on special teams. Kyron Johnson, you see Josiah Scott out there a lot. Mm-hmm. So they should be better. I mean, those are young guys who are physical and can run.
Athletic, yeah.
And athletic, yeah. So not sure if it's scheme. I'm been pretty clear that I'm not a huge Michael Clay fan. I just think when you see the same things happening over and over and the same breakdowns, this is 2 years now. What did they end up in Goose's rankings? 23rd last year?
I don't remember.
Or 21st? Rick Gosselin. Our pal Rick does the annual special teams rankings. They were in the bottom 10 and he only does them at the end of the year. I'd love to see him weekly. Goose isn't the most computer savvy guy, so I'm not sure he could, set up an algorithm for that. But I would guess they're in the bottom 5 or 6 at this point. It's got to get better. It's going to cost them a game if it doesn't get better.
Yeah, it's troubling. Anything else that you think really needs to improve?
Well, I mean, the second half scoring is a concern, and they've gotten away with it, but it's kind of weird. I mean, they score all their points in the second quarter, and they have scored when they've had to in the fourth quarter, late in games. They've put together long drives. You wrote about that in a few games when they've had to. Their backs are to the wall, and they got to.
Feels like it happens every game.
Yeah, it's happened the last couple. Happened in Detroit as well. So, it's not like they're not doing any good things, but they're not getting the ball in the end zone. They did get the ball in the end zone on that one with the Devontae touchdown, but they're averaging 5.8, I think, second half points per game.
What do you think is the biggest factor?
I don't know. Because I really thought it was kind of fluky at first. I think obviously you lose Lane Johnson, you're not going to have the same offense in the second half. I'm not sure there's one thing. I think there's been times they've taken the foot off. Shane and Nick have taken their feet off the gas a little bit.
Their collective foot.
Their collective
we'll go with foot there. I don't like feet on the gas.
That's my new band, The Collective Foot.
That's not bad.
Yeah. Yeah, we just broke up over creative similarities. But yeah, it's a weird thing. I'm not sure there's any one underlying factor, but I think it really it's one of the reasons they haven't been able to put teams away. They just don't score after halftime. You have any philosophy on any one thing?
Yeah, I think some of it is philosophical. It's you get a lead and you start, which is tough because it's like I understand. You play to win the games and you're winning the games.
Right.
So some of that is good, but I also think you need to maintain that aggressiveness too on both sides of the football.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're up 14, you just want to be able to go up 21.
Like we talked about the Chiefs earlier, right?
Yeah.
And a team like that, you wonder how they would face a team like that if they got up 14-0.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't play the same game, right? You have to find points when you play a team like that. They don't have a team like that on their schedule, but
So you're saying Nick and Shane have to be more aggressive in the Super Bowl than they have. That's basically what you're saying.
Yes.
But no, I agree with you. Part of it is, we can, if we go conservative, we figure we can just run out the clock and have more points. But that's a dangerous way to go.
Mm-hmm. One more thing for me that they need to improve. They need to have more varied answers to the blitz.
Yeah.
We saw that in Arizona. It was get everything out to the flat. Don't let the blitz beat us. And I really wanted them to have some other answers, whether it was a shot, whether it was in the middle of the field. It was just, hey, look, they won the game. It was all the flat, but there has to be progress there. And we saw the 1-0 blitz from the Cowboys. I mean, everyone in the building knew it was coming.
Yeah.
They looked like they didn't. And that was – they're going to see a lot of blitzing.
Yeah.
Because you look at what has worked against this offense, getting pressure like that has worked.
Yeah.
So they're going to see more. It's a copycat league. That's on tape. They're going to see more of that. And I would think that during this bye week, someone's going to have a very important job of figuring out what kind of answers they can give Jalen at the line to beat blitzes.
Yeah, and I think part of that is they just haven't thrown to the backs at all this year. The running backs have, like, Gainwell's 4 for 21. He's guy had almost 300 receiving yards last year. Miles has 11 catches, but only for 42 yards. Yeah. Boston Scott's caught one ball for 2 yards. So the running backs have 65 receiving yards in 5 games. A lot of times, I mean, that's an easy throw on a blitz. Yeah. Just dump it off to a running back, and they should be able to get 6, 7, 8 yards every time. I don't know why that's happened, but I'd love to see those guys get back. And they're all guys that have shown they can catch the ball, and at some point in the past. Yeah. Like to see them more involved in that aspect of the game. And I think Jalen's gotten better at everything, including how he handles the blitz, but it's still an area I think that teams look at him and say,
he's certainly gotten better at it.
He's definitely gotten better, but it's still maybe something that, it's certainly something he still has to get better at.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, if I'm a defensive coordinator and I'm sitting down, coming up with a game plan, that's on the top of my list.
No question about it. And it will be and it's not just him. I think it's the whole operation.
Yeah. Look, they're 6-0. This is all nitpicky stuff. I want to make
it's not really nitpicky. I mean,
it is, because they're finding ways to win. They're a very good team.
But I think we agree that if these things don't get better, it's going to be difficult for them to achieve what their ultimate goals are.
Yeah, win a Super Bowl.
Win a Super Bowl. So to me, it's more than nitpicky. These are significant things that have to get better.
I mean, I think
we're just being nitpicky over whether we're being nitpicky.
Yeah.
So let's just retire the conversation.
Yeah. Well, my point was that these are the things I think they're going to look at.
Yeah,
in the bye week and try to get better at. And in a way, I think that's the most encouraging thing about this team is that they're 6-0 and they haven't played a complete game. They still have so much room for improvement.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. All right. If you enjoy the Eagle Eye Podcast, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button and subscribe there as well. That's it. For Rube, I'm Dave. This has been Eagle Eye presented by Nissan. We'll talk to you soon.